It's much more.
Excuse me, we're studying. So welcome everyone to today's seminar. So today we have Dr. Kausik Ghosh, who's an assistant professor at the University of Vidyasagar in India, and is also a Fulbright climate postdoc at Penn State University. So he's going to talk about his work in Southeast Asia on transboundary water sharing challenges.
Thank you very much. So thank you for your time. With a short notice, I can understand, but still you are here. Thanks for that. So I will take you to South Asia for half an hour or 40 minutes and a river basin called Tista, which has been in a lot of reasons in political context regarding water sharing between upstream India and downstream Bangladesh. It remains an issue for the last 2 decades in peak, but it has history too. But before that, for a long, you must be seeing this photograph that I really love to start with it. And it shows multiple layers. So first layers from the background, after the sky, you can see the mighty Kanchenjunga, the upper Himalaya, then you can see the middle Himalaya, and then you can see the lower portion is the lower Himalaya, and then the alluvial plain started. And it is connected by one connection that is called the rivers. Rivers cutting all these Himalayas and bringing the sediments into downstream. And what it forms, the braided forms, means it forms the bars, islands, and multiple channels. So this is what a river looks like. So what we expect, a river should flow like multiple channels, or river should go through a single channels. So that is what the engineering view mostly to control the rivers through a particular channel. And similar views are for the political leaders too. They want to share or divide, or what I call is partitioning of river water. It is called water sharing. So starting from the Indus water, Ganga water, and the Tista water. So this is what I would like to talk about, mostly the drying river, that what is happening, again, under the changing climate, but we are still stuck to the point of quantitative water sharing that political leaders bring into the table for discussion, ignoring the ecology and the survival of the rivers. So this is the outline. In brief, I would talk about history and politics of this river water sharing, and then how the river been controlled, and what is the impact on river and the communities, and finally try to give some alternative of water sharing as a hydropower can be used as a benefit sharing framework. And to create a context of political things, you can see in Colorado River Basin too, when the 1922 Colorado River Compact was signed, it was something I just echoed Eric Kuhn and John Fleck, who mentions that someone is in hurry to share the water, as a result of which the river has been over-allocated. So this is what happening globally. South Asia is very known for that. Water sharing means the quantitative water share, the share anyone can get. And it has a long politics too. So today I would be focusing mostly on the impact on the rivers and the way river been controlled by hydraulic infrastructures. And this is the right time to talk this about, because we already went through water stress, water scarcity. Now we are into the era of water bankruptcy. It is irreversible. It means we cannot go back. What we have seen in our childhood, we cannot see in future too. So this is what the UN says, water bankruptcy. So something really happened to this river basin called Tista. You can see this is the Tista River flowing from upstream Himalaya. You can see there are snow cover, which it brings to the downstream through middle part of the Himalaya. Middle part of the Himalaya is very sensitive in terms of the geology. If you see where most of the dams, these green dots are basically the dams are built on. These dams are basically, just to take you to the other side of the slides, it's called run-of-the-river dams. It holds the water for sometimes to release the water to generate hydropower. And this is how what we called hydro-picking. It raises the water level, it releases the and generate energy. Whereas there are another, this slide, this part, yeah, I'm showing there. So where you can see another type of diversion structure called barrage, very popular since colonial era, it has been there. So means this hydraulic infrastructure are there, but it was built in 1970s. It just hold the water and divert through the canals. It doesn't have a typical reservoir area, but it used the upstream of the river as a storage, as a temporal storage. And if you see the geography of this, it is the eastern part of Himalaya, and if the geopolitics of the geopolitical boundaries, you can see northern part is Tibet and China, western part is Nepal, eastern part is Bhutan, southern part is Bangladesh, and the central part is India. So it is almost internationally, in a geopolitically hotspot positions. So further, China is no longer a party to this, but Chinese recent investment plan for this river really bring it to the highlight of political discourse.
So where are the dams, the green dots? Which country?
Oh, it is in India. It is in India. So India has multiple states, like the Colorado has upper basin, lower basin. So you can see the Himalayan basin called Sikkim. Sikkim is a mountainous state. And then it's coming to it is what the subnational politics is, when the states involve into political discussions, as Indian constitutions allows state to involve in water sharing matters. So then it comes to the West Bengal. West Bengal is having partly mountain Himalaya, and then it has a plain. And where it has built a barrage called Tista Barrage project, like further 100 kilometers downstream in Bangladesh, also created a barrage, is the same name, Tista Barrage project. And the barrage objective is primarily to divert water for irrigations. And it becomes the bone of contentions between India and Bangladesh of water sharing, because most of the run-of-the-river dams, it does not divert, it holds temporarily, and it releases finally. However, it also created issues that I will discuss in detail.
Sorry, can you clarify the China part also? What did you say? How is China involved?
Yeah, I'm just coming to history and politics. Yeah, I'm just in details, I will say, discuss about that. Thank you for asking. So it is what the river is flowing to Bangladesh, and it becomes the bone of contentions, the water diversions issues. And it is not the water throughout the year, the downstream, even upstream, India is looking for. It is a particular time period that it's looking for the water. So for example, you can see the stream flow is mimicking the runoff, rainfall. The blue bar are the rainfalls, and it is the hydrographs you can see. So when there is a lot of water, no one needs water. So everyone thinking, you take water, we don't do water. Water, when is scarce in the dry season, everyone needs that water. So it is, bring me to the basic definition of resource does not refer to the things or substance, but to the function. So its function increase when the dry season. So it is a temporal water. That's what they're fighting for, because the crop, the region is growing called Boro rice. So just like compared to alfalfa, which is very water intensive, this Boro rice is also very water intensive. It needs more water than the other varieties of crops, but it ensures the food security of the region. So it is very important. And also, if you look at the dams that has been built, 13 number of dams in the upstream, these green dots are showing, is ensuring the energy of the regions. Also, India, Bangladesh share food as well as energy. That also another part of the story. So I will briefly discuss about the politics of that, which is in brief. So Tista water was in the issue pre-independence periods, when the partition was supposed to done before the 1947. Before boundary commissions, Muslim League proposed that Tista should be part of Bangladesh, or then East Pakistan, because in 1947 it is West Pakistan and East Pakistan. Bangladesh was not yet formed. So they were looking more of the basin areas, suspecting that it should have more control. Otherwise, India in upstream, it would control. So it was pre-independence time, it was in their mind. But there was a period after that, what I called ignorance, because after 1947, India and Pakistan much involved into Indus water. So no other discussion was going on, only the focus on the Indus water. And it took time, another 14, 15 years. In 1960s, Indus water treaty been done, signed. And after signing of 1960s of Indus water treaty, Ganga water treaty into the discussion, because it took almost, after partition, India to recognize Ganga as an international river. Indians thought that Ganga is a part of their culture, rituals. It does also have a reason to say. So that's what they did not consider it as an international river. But after 20 years, they discussed, and they finally in 1970s thought to have a discussion with Pakistan to resolve the issues. But before that, Bangladesh formed in 1971 and Bangladesh fought against Pakistan with the support of India, and the new nation has formed. And it is the era when immediately after the independence of Bangladesh, both the Prime Minister of India and Bangladesh signed a treaty called Cooperation, Friendship, and Peace, which is very important because it only brought that river water should be used as optimized use of water. River water should be augmentation of water, and also the most important part, river water should be shared, collaboratively, jointly. That is why they formed Joint Rivers Commission in 1972 with a thought that rivers should be managed jointly, not partitioned, again partitioning. But they thought that it is what the concept integrated water resource management looks like. That's what our leaders thought initially, but it has changed politically after assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. The politics take another turn, and that's what the Ganga Water Treaty took another, more than 20 years. And in 1996, only the Treaty of Ganga Water Treaty signed. And there is also reason why it is signed, but in between, Tista was a lost river water discussion. In between, there are some kind of interim agreements and interim proposal was there that I will explain in later. But why Ganga Water Treaty happened? It's again the political cultural cards they played. So in 1996, after immediate elected government by Hasina went to West Bengal Chief Minister, not to the Prime Minister of India, went to the Chief Minister of West Bengal because she understood the subnational politics and importance. Because the Indian Constitution gives rights to the subnational politics like states more power in water sharing. And she played the card of cultural connectedness because Jyoti Basu was the then Prime Minister who actually born in Bangladesh. So, and Jyoti Basu has also, this Bengali notion and connection, and Sheikh Hasina remained in India for a long time. So this close cultural ties used for this water treaty, and immediately 1996 treaty was done and conducted, and we have seen. However, in many fronts, the treaty was, criticized and all. But, after that, there is a long pause. And it is only after 2010, Tista issues becomes a very contentious issues, because there are a lot of things happened in between till today that, in India, the subnational politics has changed. A new government formed. Jyoti Basu, the CPIM government, the left government was not there. There is a new government. In India also, Congress to BJP, new Modi-led government has and in Bangladesh also, we have seen that after Sheikh Hasina, a new government formed. So it was remain in politics, and Tista issue was not signed. It becomes the political issues within Bangladesh. And that developed anti-India sentiment, or you can say anti-upstream sentiments within Bangladeshi people in downstream, that India is holding all the water, it is not releasing all the water, as because there is no data available. Data available maybe, but data is very classified, restricted, and it took more than 10 years to get this data for me. It's probably I'm the only one who have the data, and other person who has the data, he becomes a part of the committee, but he did not release the data because he is a part of the committee. So government doesn't allow to release the data, but I have the data. I can show you a limited interpretation of that. So it sounds like Tista remains in a political issue. And I will take you to the recent, this map, this election result map of 2026 in Bangladesh. If you look at the green part, these greens are mainly owned by Jamaat-e Islami. Jamaat is a pro-Pakistani and anti-Indian. And if you look at the pattern here on the northwestern front, it is where the Tista flows. Okay? So here, Jamaat election win means they would remain in opposition and they would create a stress on the newly elected BNP governments. And meanwhile, India is trying to build a better relationship with the downstream. So that's what I predicted. Tista is going soon, the deal going to be cracked. Okay, but how it is cracked, we would discuss. What happened to that? No one discussing is the river. What is happening with the rivers? Everyone discussing about the deal, treaty. This is the fact. So this is what, and now the Chinese part that is most important. It sounds like that Hasina is a pro-India approach, but in 2026, Bangladesh is the first South Asian nation who signed the Belt and Road Initiative by China, and she brought Chinese to the Tista River. And Tista River, where it is located, it is very sensitive. As I have shown, it is surrounded by geopolitically multiple countries, and the location is called Chicken Neck. Okay, it is very sensitive geopolitically, and where the Chinese investment plan is going on this area, it is called a Tista Mega plan, a $1 billion plan Chinese is willing to invest. And China, by the way, no longer is a party to this Tista River Basin. However, they are party to the Brahmaputra because it's part of Brahmaputra River Basin. But what is happening in Brahmaputra, Chinese is already built a dam. So it, make Chinese also into the same lanes what China is doing in the upstream. So what is why this water issue is contentious? There are major reasons behind is hydropower rush. We are producing more and more hydropower by building more and more dams, what we can see. And the irrigation project that both that country targeted, it is around 1.5 million hectares, means it's a massive area even the existing water cannot cover. And more than 30 million population, even if you consider a Colorado River Basin, it is only 40 million people, only because it's a large river basin, 100 times than the Tista River Basin, despite the 30 million population in India and Bangladesh sharing this river water. It makes it more contentious. And what is Tista water sharing, by the way? So here you can see the barrage, the last barrage that I have shown, TBP, Tista Barrage project from India. It diverts the water through the canal and remaining water released to the downstream Bangladesh. So Bangladesh is demanding here for 50-50 share. And how this 50-50 share came? Historically, if you see 1983, there was a proposal that 39% and 36% divisions, and there was an ecological flow share they considered during 1983. So I must say they were wise when 1983 was designed. But it becomes more political. That's what there is no share for the water gradually. 50-50 share means no water would remain for the rivers. It is the first party is upstream India, second party is downstream Bangladesh, and there is no third party or the river itself. But third party has entered. It is not China, it is climate change. Well, so this is what one map I would like to show you, that how historically in upstream mountain basin, as I told that there is no typical reservoirs, but upstream backflow, you can see here how the water being stored by upstream in India. India is also diverting water through canals and creating by barrage. Also, like in the bottom panel, Bangladesh is also diverting the same and storing the water. So everyone is diverting what is upstream or downstream, everyone doing the same thing. But meanwhile, to produce more and more energy, we need more than 200 cubic of water, and only 100 cubic of water is available. And for agriculture expansion, the command area needs 16 times more water in this area than compared to that. And meanwhile, Chinese proposal sounds like they would control the river. You probably have seen the first photograph. It was like 10-kilometer stretch, means the entire river. So probably the stretch is on an average 3 to 5 kilometer river stretch, and they targeted to bring it to 1 kilometer stretch. And that is how their water management plan is. Water management, not the river management. They would manage the water through a tunnel, channel, canal, whatever you can say, the hydraulic infrastructure that ignore the braided river ecology and the diversity or the geomorphic diversity of the rivers. So that is what the Chinese proposal is, and mostly Chinese proposals are bringing water and creation of land by dredging and bringing water to the urban areas nearby. This is what their proposal, probably downstream Bangladesh attracted by it. But finally, India also gave the similar proposal immediately when they noticed that Chinese investments are there. So in 2024, India also sent their technical team to Bangladesh. And finally, Sheikh Hasina agreed, okay, as India in upstream is regulating the water, so India will manage the river. So it is a good move in a sense. She balanced between two powerful nations, India and China, to play this hydropolitical game using the water. But after 2024, what we have seen, the new government came, and mostly, the interim government was leaned towards Chinese proposal then, and this Chinese proposal politicized in Bangladesh too, and becomes one issue that it should be implemented as soon as possible to as a response to Indian, regulation. So this is my entire PhD thesis is based on this, painting I drew some time back to make understand what dams are actually doing. So these dams are built across the rivers to hold the water. It's apparently seems like that it's holding the water, but not. It is also holding the sediments in upstreams. So the UC Berkeley professor Konlov mentions that it is a hungry water, the sediment-starved river when it released downstream. What I call these structures as the monsters of the Himalayas, sediment eater dams. So it holds the water. As a result, the coarser grains remains in the upstream. And when it releases the water, it enhances it in power to erode downstream, what we call competency. It means it try to erode more and more downstream part. And when it erode the downstream part, there are a lot of islands and bar. Thousands of people depends upon these islands and bars for their economic activities like agricultural productions. Even there are some settlements over there. And we can see gradually the reservoir area has expanded, and river is seems like a flowing river. Now it becomes a kind of a semi-lacustrine conditions. It's like not flowing river. It's like, there is a if you have ever visited this place, probably very tourist attraction was the rapids. So all they called rafting, it gone. So now what is, everyone doing boating? Who love boating? So for boating, why to go there? So there are places to visit, but rafting has already gone because there is water and water, okay, in the upstream due to this dam, thanks to the dam. So, but if you look, the diversion by the barrage itself, the inflow has reduced, means from the upstream, the 9% water has reduced, and dam successfully, the barrage, what is diverting the water for agriculture and irrigation, monsoon water by 24%, and non-monsoon, the dry season, what for India and Bangladesh is fighting 52%. So it's apparently seems like, is Bangladesh only fight for 2% of water because 50%, almost 48% released in the downstream. But it is practically not. It is actually, again, there is a subset of that. It is not the non-monsoon season. It is the February flow. When in February month, when there is a lot of demands for the water. And this is the time when more than 80% of the water regulated by upstream. And this is the same. I have divided it into 3 period: pre-dam, dam construction, another important part, and post-dam period. So during pre-dam period, we can see water has also decreased. It means that naturally is also water decreasing before regulation. Okay. But during dam construction period, I will, take your attention over here. These bars are the sediments. And you can see this is the suspended sediments, the sediment grains flowing with the water. It has dramatically increased compared to the other seasons. So during dam construction, what happens, as I have shown, is that most of the middle Himalayan area has been excavated. The quaternary sediments, the quartzite phyllites and quartzite schist are vulnerable, susceptible to erosions. And it is the area where the rate of denudation, means erosion, is 5 times higher than the world average. So almost like 5 millimeter, per year is the denudation rates. And it is where the most of the landslides takes place. In 2011, Sikkim earthquake triggered more than 1,000 small and large number of landslides. So this is a very vulnerable and susceptible regions where we constructed the dams. Okay, and it is in between MBT and MCT is the thrustal zones, means the fault zones in between we have created. Probably one day we can see from the top that this zone has submerged. Maybe some scientists predict the same. If you look at this part dam construction and post dam, are you good? Means if I explain data, is this fine? Because sounds like technical too. Yeah. Okay. So yes, I'm sorry for that. So during dam construction period, if you notice that sediment has gone up, shot up like more than 300%, whether it is during monsoon or non-monsoon season. Non-monsoon season, basically we hold the water upstream of the dams. So in post-dam condition, you can see that stream flow in monsoon has reduced by 22%. And in non-monsoon season, it has reduced by 58%. It's more than half it has reduced. But also sediment has reduced by 56%. It means that sediments now into the reservoirs. Whereas 30% sediment compared to pre-dam has increased. It means during the summer or monsoon season, when the gates are open, it brings additional sediments to the downstream, what stored in the upstream reservoirs. I can show you some of the photographs. So this is another graphical representation of the same. When there was no dam, the river was much diverse. It has islands, bars, and water. It's a full of in state. Dam constructions, there are a lot of sediments injected into rivers that alter the downstream pattern. And during post-dam conditions, what we can see, the river is mostly dried up and it becomes, invisible, or the drying river that I try to mention. Well, this diagram is also showing the same stream flow and sediment relation, where hysteresis explain that how and what it happens. I just compare it from the back side of it. For example, the Tista River basin, we have seen like a funnel-shaped basin. So during pre-dam conditions, there are a lot of vegetations. So whenever the rain falls, immediately sediment doesn't come. So rain takes time to erode the lands, and there is a cover like vegetation covers. So more than 700 acres of vegetation, deforested due to this dam construction. So as a result of which, what happened, the sediments are coming a lot. So before the water peak coming to the downstream, sediment peaks moving ahead. It means the sediment is ready to move. So that is why this two pattern has formed. One is anti-clockwise pattern. Anti-clockwise pattern, you can see that sediment graph following the peak of the hydrograph, whereas it just reverses in clockwise conditions. And most interestingly, in this dam regulation periods, it does not have any loop or any kind of, it more about synchronized, okay? Because dam is releasing water and sediments upon its willingness. So as a result, river has changed its rhythm from natural regime to now more into the regulated regime or controlled regime, you may say. This is another part of the research, as I mentioned, that the data is not available. So why it is important to understand the sediment of this region? Because what Britishers ignored in this region by constructing more and more hydraulic infrastructure is that they are looking only for water, but it is not mostly India, especially the alluvial plains of India, the Himalayan plains of India. It is about water and sediments, okay? Land built by the waters. So what happened? We have built a lot of embankments, a lot of dams, just not to allow river, the water, to distribute the sediments. Okay. As a result, it remains within the channel of the rivers. As well as when we store the coarser materials, as the Himalayan monster does, like it holds more and more coarser grains. As a result, it releases very finer grains into the downstream. But if you look at the islands, even if you consider the Sundarbans in the deltas, these are built on the grains of sediments, stacked grains after grains. So coarser in the bottom part and finers on the top. And finers is not only finer sediment, it brings also nutrient. That nutrient is not pollutant, but the nutrient is important for agriculture production because it gives food to the crops, natural. Now we have artificial things. That is why artificial thing came. It has a lot of economy behind it, possibly, but it is how its stack looks like. So I collected the samples which exist pre-dam condition using satellite images, one after one, identifying which area has potentially preserved. I collect the sediments from those regions, and I found that during pre-dam conditions, 50% of the sediments are coarser than compared to the recent. The D50 is called median grain size, has reduced by half. So initially it was like 1 millimeter in size, and now it is like half millimeter in size. Maybe half millimeter, but it has a lot of impact. Probably I will show you something after that. So almost immediately after the proximity of the dams, 80% of these islands, is probably from the satellite images, this 80%, 60 to 80% of these islands has eroded. Okay, so people are moving here and there and more demanding for create more embankment, create more dams. People, those who are communities living there, sometimes doesn't understand that actually embankments are creating a spiral impact. If you create one embankment, definitely very soon you have to create another embankments. So that is why a city near this place called Jalpaiguri, which has 3 tiers of embankments. 3 tiers. First tier they created almost like during the British period, and then second tier, and then another tier, because now it means people of Jalpaiguri says the Tista is flowing on top of our head. Obviously, you are increasing the embankment heights, and the city is going below, and the river bed is elevating and enhancing the height. So this is what the hydraulic infrastructure. So now maybe you may ask question that why people are looking for more hydraulic infrastructure, because it is what we have shown after post-colonial era. So it is the post-colonial hangover that we believe more into the hydro infrastructure on that. The knowledge system that exists before that, we really forget about it. I didn't see that. I have seen some of the museums that this is what the Harappan water management system was, but it was also destroyed by rivers, so it could not be taken as a case for. But recently, Indian knowledge system is concerning more about to bring this system into work and just forgetting about what is happening. But still, hydro infrastructure building is most popular because it brings a lot of corruption, scam, insolvency. So if you look at the dams, embankments, it has some, a lot of things going on. I'm not expert on it, but yes, what I read and I just mentioned it from that reading. Well, as I mentioned, just look at this diagram, pre-dam and post-dam, that a lot of this small circles called outliers has increased, okay, in the recent times, just because the dams hold the water and release the water. So it increased the 70 times. Means, for example, in a 4 hours in a day, they release 700 cubic of water, and rest of the 20 hours of the day, they release only 10 cubic of water. So it means in a one go, all the water been released. So if you visiting this place, Tista, in the evening, people will always say, don't go in the evening. And everyone said, okay, there may be some supernatural things people believe easily in the rural setup. But it is practically not. It is the dams which release in the night times. So it is important. So when we see in the optical images, the image for satellite capture during the daytimes, so there is no river. So that is what the drying rivers I mentioned in the slide. The river seems like it's drying, but in a one go, the water release, and it becomes a matter of contentions and politics. If you ask people, they will say, oh, no, there is no water. Entire river bed is now barren and aridified. You can see sandbars and sandbars. There is no river. How can people say? Because what we see, we believe, and politics is mastering it on it, how to politicize and get electoral benefit out of it. So this river has been now completely, at least apparently evaporated. So I thought, why not to, build the index, what we call the braided river. So braided river means multiple channels that we have shown in the first slide. So now you can see there is no longer a braided river, only the single river. The red color, what we see is the dry channels, dry rivers. So my assumption is to create a new index, propose a new index called regulated river braided river index, where I try to extract all these channels which activated during the night, and it left the moisture imprint on it. And I used some index called normalized difference water index to extract this and create and propose a new index for the regulated river system. And what we found is very interesting. Where there is a barrage or dams, their braiding value has decreased. Means pond means a single channel. So where you created reservoir, it is not braiding. Braiding means a lot of sandbars, water, channels. So wherever the river width is more, we can see the braiding value has increased. And wherever there is a river bridge, means 3 kilometer wider belt has been reduced to a river bridge, because river bridge is very economical. You cannot create 3 kilometer river bridge. You always try to focus and narrow it down by creating embankments. So you did it to rivers and you narrowed it down to the 1 kilometer of the stretch. As a result, you can see what braiding impressions are. It has reduced the value. So whatever index we try to propose has captured successfully. And if you compare this with the only wet channels, if you look, okay, this is only visible river channels, then this is what we can say: the Tista is no longer a braided river. So this could be the conclusion of that, and which is completely false, because if you consider the dry channels, then definitely it would have some kind of increased, not the drastic fall we can see here in these diagrams that happened only because of the wet channel consideration. And that is what it is connected to the politics. It is not only the river science I'm talking about, because this is what people believe, what they see. And this is what, they be making it politicized, that river has dried up, river has grown. So it is the upstream that all the dams are doing. But it is, not only the downstream, the upstream is also encountering the same problems. Look at the sedimentations, how the stack of sedimentations in the upstream reservoir has deposited. And the canal through which the water been diverted, it has also lost its 50% of capacity due to this sedimentation. Because 1970s, when there was a rush of building more and more dams, they did not think about this sediment. They only think about water, because it is what the Britishers injected in our mind to build more and more hydro infrastructure without considering the land, only focusing on water. And the sedimentation is become now a major problems, and they are thinking to dredging the sediments. Imagine dredging the sediments a width of 3 kilometers, a stretch of 100 kilometers. Okay, it's a good exercise would be for the global river scientists to know how it would be possible to dredge the sediments. Anyways, so in upstream also, India, by creating this dam, encountering the same problems. Another problem is glacial lake outburst flood. That is, Himalayas are encountering more of any places. So probably downstream must be things they have Himalayas, they have the kinetic energy to produce more and more energy. They are the beneficiaries. But upstream also the worst sufferer, because we ignored this disasters like landslide. And so here I can just give one example why sediments, the grains are important. Grains are not micro one, the larger one, meter scale one, also called boulders. Here, look, this dam in 2023 in Glove, it is, before that it looks like this. You can imagine the size. There are trucks, on the top of this. More than a size of the truck, 2 or 3 trucks of the size is the grains. That comes because of there's a lake outburst, and these lakes are basically glacial lakes, and due to climate change, more and more glacier is melting, and these lakes are outburst suddenly because they got an outlet to come out. Maybe it is not a permanent dams, it is again built by sediments. When it destroyed, it comes with a massive force. So everyone think this is water. This is not only water. Again, this dam destroyed not by water, but by the grains. And look, here is the living example of that, how it drilled this dam. Here, oh sorry, here is this. It drills the dams again and again, and it destroyed entire dams and it leads to the globe. Even Bangladesh also encountered the problems, but thank God, there are multiple dams. It somehow stopped the impact to the downstream. But if you go to the downstream and you would ask that India has released more water, they want to destroy us. This is what the politics is. People doesn't know that what is happening in the upstream, because no one is there to share the dialogues. We only share water, not the dialogues. We don't have a common platform like probably Colorado has between US and Mexico, but we do not have to share the dialogues that what is really happening, because no one has the data. That is the problem. The data is so secret, data is so classified. And look, the dam operators build the dams over here with thinking they would get a funding under the CDM, Clean Development Mechanism, through Kyoto Protocol, and they invested, they got fund, they built dam. When they found that it is not a profit-making things, because landslides, this debris, the tunnel got destroyed, they just leave the dam, because private players introduced in these regions, apart from the the joint programs like in India. So this is what we ignored during then. And the third party that I mentioned, the villain, again, those who are not into discussion, definitely in the era of this, climate change is almost invisible, but it exists. Hydropower is framed as a climate mitigator, but it becomes a victim of climate change. Probably someone said correctly. And you can see that minimum temperature of this basin increased by 1.2 degrees centigrade, which is very crucial. Minimum temperature, if it get increased, it means more glacier melting. If more glacial melting, it means more creation of lakes. And there is more susceptible or vulnerability of this kind of outburst lakes or clough. And also, when we are storing more and more water, there is a chances of evapotranspirations or evaporations that we have seen across the Colorado River basins is happening. So evaporation is also a phenomena with the increasing temperature in the regions. And finally, in brief, probably this is what, I don't know, this is very interesting figure. Only protest is in the upstream and extreme downstream in Bangladesh. Between, I don't know, anything is not happening. So in upstreams, there are tribal communities, lepchas. Okay, they are protesting dams from the origins. The dam third that has been washed out, they were protested much. But they believe now it is the god take the revenge by destroying the dam. Okay, so anyone can ask it that US now removing more and more dams, where Himalaya building more and more dams. So environmentalists in between, they're thinking that something would happen, it will wash out. So probably 2023 is not very tragic event, but good thing is that dam has been released with water. So the dams would not be removed, but it would be released by the natural forces. That is what the Lepchas, Bhutias believe in that region. Even in Bangladesh, if you see in the downstream, they called Wake Up and Save Tista. And it was led by BNP when Sheikh Hasina was in power. So BNP was trying to polarize using water and hydropolitics to remain in power. Okay, so this is what BNP-led movement. So, half millions of people, visited these regions and saved Tista and in the water and protested. And publication from Bangladesh also very interesting, which shows that flash flood in Tista rivers and the location is downstream. By the way, flash flood is an event, is a very fraction of second or fraction of time, and it is mainly occurred in the hilly regions and upstream regions, not in the far floodplain in downstream. So also it is a kind of misinformation. I must not say wrong or right, but it is very easy to take political dynamics. So our political dynamics now more focused into this. But what should we do? So I tried and attempted to propose that whatever hydropower is available, because Bangladesh need more energy. It does not have hydropower anything. India share almost around 1,200 megawatt of energy. So if Bangladesh would get more and more energy, then water, whatever the water they are not getting, in exchange of that, if Bangladesh would get the energy, then it could be a diplomatic way to resolve the Tista issue, not to make it more politicized. So my proposal is that 50% share from the upstream of the dams, like run of the rivers dams, it should be shared with Bangladesh. And the 50%, not 50%, 100% that is diverted by the barrage, that should be shared by India to Bangladesh. And this is how we try to propose. So if you produce more, then you have to share more. So that is what sounds like, carbon credits. If you produce more, if you do more, if you erode more. So it's something like that. So I can discuss more into it, but it is what the framework I have developed with my mentor, and it is now published. And this is what my future work and the present work, my postdoctoral research looks like. So why I am here? Because I'm also taking a case of Colorado River. So I am in South Asia. I'm believing that definitely US must be doing great with the Colorado River system, because they have all the data, they have all the study, a lot of scientists. It is highly studied river basin in the world, the Colorado River, I guess. And it has multiple institutions working in it, where in case of India, Bangladesh, there's one institution working in only in hiding called JRC, Joint Rivers Commission. And it has IBWC, IFA, Water User Association, it has BURAC, it has USGS, everyone is working, even the NGOs, that super known NGOs, those who bring 3 to 3 minutes into here. So I'm looking for this lenses, bring back to South Asia. Can we use the Colorado River water sharing framework to South Asia, or is it the same across the globe happening? The same water politics exist in the West and even in the South. So I will be in between. So that's what my future works look like. I would like to work and collaborate on groundwater, the crop productions, and mostly I worked on the energy and water part, and the nexus I would like to develop on the food. Can nexus be a framework to replace the existing framework? That's my questions is. And yes, with this, I'm thankful to the Arizona State University to give me this platform. So the audience and here, my colleagues, and Professor Manulal for coming with this. And also the Outreach Lecturing Fund, Fulbright program. which supported my visit, and my mentor, Professor Christopher Scott, the Goddard Chair Professor, who also partly funded and encouraged me to go to see what is happening and just share my ideas. So with this, thank you very much for allowing this talk.
So thank you to Kausik for such an interesting presentation. So we have time for questions, please. Yeah.
My name is Hassan. I'm from Bangladesh. So very nice presentation. And so what you talk about the political dimension of this river water sharing. So I just want to share one information that in my understanding, the JRC has been the most ineffective bilateral organization between India and Bangladesh. Most because I can talk a lot. I mean, I can talk for hours on this political dimension, but time is limited. But what didn't take place, like India and Bangladesh shares major 8 rivers. 8 rivers. Only one Ganga has been signed. Although there is, and you are very right that there is no data on water sharing. So this is something like you talk about the upstream effect. The downstream is more affected because when you say that it is water is diverted by both stream, but it may not be entirely the ground reality. So what is happening in Bangladesh? It is mostly the irrigation projects, small scale irrigation project. Major diversion is happening in that upstream. So I've been there physically there on UNDP project when I was working for there. So there has been a devastating impact, like starting from changing cropping patterns. Farmers have shifted from boro to maize, wheat, which is not well grown. So I feel like that there has to be a consensus on these 8 rivers, not only on just on holistically on holistic, not only on Tista or Ganga. Even there is no data on what amount of water is being actually shared. But I really appreciate your model of looking forward in the coming days. And some political dimension you said, but it was, of course, there was some political elements to instigate people, but not entirely by BNP-led government or BNP-led opposition also. So it is mostly comes when you are affected.
True.
So people you see are standing over there in the river are not traveling from Dhaka to Rangpur or Kurigram, the region that is most affected. So that comes from the locality. So that is something I want to add.
Yeah.
So I know about this incident.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for your comments. Shall I address that?
Do you want to address that first? And
Sorry, I took a bit too much.
Yeah, means you're true that JRC is the most ineffective because after 1971, what it was thought, just Indira Gandhi and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, when signed, they have 3 points that mentioned that was never been implemented. It is only quantitative water share they focused, because this is what the public demands, JRC not. JRC has a ministerial level where ministerial meets, and that is why it does not have independence. But what happened with the independent institution like IBWC on Colorado between US and Mexico? Do you think that they are also functioning very well? They are doing the great, the best? Can I take an example and bring back to JRC and ask, look, IBWC is doing best? That's what I'm here. Because I'm also, investigating the same thing. Now, coming to the river points, just imagine where from the river diversion end by India. India has a 75-kilometer stretch till Indo-Bangladesh border. Then it crosses 25 kilometer more, and there is another TBP in Lalmonirhat by Bangladesh. Okay, so it also diverting. Okay, so I'm saying I'm a river scientist. I believe what it is doing, this thing is also doing the same. I have some data. Probably I would write it soon. If you go downstream to that, just before it debouches to Brahmaputra, there is a place called what is that? I cannot pronounce. Kunia or Koinia, Kunia or something. So that place, I have some data. And this barrage in Bangladesh, what India did in upstream, this barrage did 70% more than this barrage. So it diverted 70% more than the upstream. I believe that, this is what the dialogue depends. So we should not focus what India is doing. Yes, definitely. Now the point is that suppose 50% of water really Bangladesh need as a water share. Now it is only 100 cubic, and we need 16 times more water demand than it exists. So we should come together. Joint river commission means we should work jointly. Forgetting about politics is another side. Where is the NGOs? Where are all these governments? I worked with Sayyada Rizwana Hassan on Bela, a project between India and Bangladesh. She is now take over JRC head. Okay, I don't know, means during the interim government, just in the beginning of 2026. She is an environmental justice lawyer. So she also followed the same proposal for the Ganga Water Treaty and demanded 40 cubic of water and guaranteed water. So if something happened, climate change, so where from India would give that? So it means that we are still stick to this partitioning mind. How much resources? It is not Bangladesh only. It's Bangladesh, India, Pakistan is South Asian. That partitioning mentality we have had in our mind, even as a human also, that we still believe in that percentage of water share we could ensure that would sustain in future. This is what the anti-sustainability, probably I'm the right department about sustainability. Yes, please. Sorry.
Hi, Kausik Ghosh. Thank you so much. I grew up on the Tista River. We picnic on the Tista River.
Okay, you are?
And I'm a faculty here at ASU, and I scattered the ashes of my mother in the Teesta River.
Oh.
So this has a really sentimental value. So when I saw this thing, I said, I have to go to this talk. So I ran, But if you go back to your last slide, the last slide. So I think what you have here, so the Teesta River, the upstream that you're talking about. So I was just talking to my relatives who have lived and grown up in Sikkim.
Yeah.
So what they have said, and what is missing in this conversation is not just at the country level. It's not just between India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan.
True.
It is also at the sub-regional level. And the eastern part of India has always been marginalized by India, right? This was Manipur, Sikkim, the more ethnic groups. So Sikkim has been marginalized. And the Tista's origin is in Sikkim. So I think this framework misses the participatory people engagement part. You have energy, water, you have the themes. You don't have this conversation, which needs to be part of, which our school is good at. This participatory conversation, the dialogue cannot just happen here. The dialogue needs to permeate everywhere. So I think if you would consider the idea of this engagement, and you also mentioned indigenous knowledge. Sikkim and Darjeeling and northern part of West Bengal is not just populated by millions of people, but there's millions of knowledge systems. And I think that how to protect the upstream and the watershed, if that's not considered in your framework and you are the leading scientist in this, I think it'll be it'll be sad on my part, because we went river rafting on the Teesta River, and you are saying now we can't do that anymore. It just makes me a little bit sad. So there's a personal stake in the conversation that you have. So I think this is really important. So it's not just about downstream. And thank you so much also for adding this idea about sediments. So even now the conversation is still about water. It's not about the sediment. And there is a movie called The Fragile Mountains where Nepal was blamed for all of the flooding in Bangladesh because we were cutting down trees. Right? I consider myself Nepalese, Indian, American. And so the idea, when you look, it's all the tectonic plate movement, it's a geological movement, and it's all of that. And so one of the things that needs to be considered over here is it needs to be nested, it needs to be sub-regional, it needs to be also geographical. So I think that element is missing in terms of what's going to happen, because sediment is going to be a huge part of your conversation. So I really enjoyed your talk. Thank you so much.
You must be Professor Chetri.
And my student is actually working on Transboundary, which is a trans-border water sharing in Mexico and US. So I'll probably contact you.
Sure. I'll be glad to.
Anna, you must be talking about my husband, not by me. I'm not that important.
Thank you, everyone, for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
And thank you so much for your interesting presentation.
Thank you.
So we'll see you in the next seminar. So